Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Blitz Racing Network. As tonight, we're giving you the coverage of the Twigi iRacing Truck Series. Tonight, it's the final race of the regular season, as it's race number 16 of this season, and it's crazy how it's come to an end already. What's even crazier than that, we're about to be experiencing our first taste of super speedway racing this season, as tonight we come to one of the biggest tracks and one of the most well-known tracks. It's the Daytona International Speedway for 2.5 miles of hard pack racing that we're going to be seeing here this evening. It's going to be 50 laps in total, but the drivers are just now getting set for qualifying for themselves. Again, thank you for joining us here on the Blitz Racing Network. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is going to be my brother Matt Dyer, who's also going to be running productions and commentating. A little bit of double duty, but the drivers here tonight, it's more of a relaxing type of a night for themselves. Drivers coming in already kind of know where they're going to be lying in the playoffs, as 10 drivers were able to make it into the playoffs for themselves. Top of the board for points, going to be Merrick Watchorn with a very dominant 39 points over Patrick Hernandez, with Ryan Mitchell going to be in third, Brendan Gregg going to be fourth in points, with Elliott Drummond's going to be in fifth, sixth Sam Brochu, with Ryan Hyatt in seventh in points, with Douglas Carlson in eighth, John Lynch going to be in ninth, with that of Jacob Elkins going to be in 10th place. John Buwalda Jr. would have been a threat to watch out for here this evening if he had shown up last week for North Wilkesboro, but did not. So our 10 drivers that we just listed, they are locked in to the playoffs that will start next week, where it's going to be a 10-race playoff system. We're going to have 3 races for each round, and we'll take away 2 drivers in each round until we get to our final 4. We'll see how the drivers can attest at their championship race later on. As right now on screen, it's going to be that of Douglas Carlson, going to be starting off his first lap here on track. Matt, tonight, 50 laps. Drivers got a fast repair. They got 4 extra sets of tires in pit road, but qualifying currently underway. This is certainly a race where you really never know who's going to be the threat to watch out for here tonight.
Yeah, really. It's like you don't really want to be, the leader. You come to the last, lap here, but I mean, like you definitely would like to be out front. Kind of just like control, and if you can control both lanes, then you'll be pretty good. But yeah, it is really just like pretty much a crapshoot because you're just waiting. Because we're really, it's just you're just driving until the last lap, and then that's really when the race starts.
And that's why we got to applaud the league for making this race only 50 laps. If it was any longer than that, I think we might have been pulling our hairs with how small this field's going to be here this evening. We were seeing a lot of growth, but with the playoffs right around the corner, we might be down to just our playoff 10 that we'll be racing, and maybe a couple of others that will be there as well. As that of Douglas Carlson crossed the line, going to be third on the board after qualifying for himself. There's still a couple of other drivers on track getting times in, as Merrick Watchorn, first lap on top of the board, but take that back as Joey Hickok going to be taking the top of the board for the 73. Joey has not been here for a while, but Merrick Watchorn, the biggest threat for a championship run for himself, and coming across the line, we'll see on the second lap for the 91. Will he take the top of the board? Cross the line. We wait for the numbers to tick in, and it will not be good enough. Second is for Merrick Watchorn here tonight, which a super sweet speedway, Matt, for a driver that's won 9 times this season. This is the one track where he knows for sure it's not a for sure thing to get a win. But for a lot of the drivers that haven't gotten a win, like Patrick Hernandez, this is could be a pretty big night for themselves to finally get that monkey off their back going into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. It is really just a wide open for anyone because it. I wouldn't say it doesn't take skill, but it does take a little bit of skill to put your car in the right spot at the right time. So, like we should see regulars up front, but it is going to be fun to watch like the guys who usually are in the back or mid pack also try to fight up there towards the front.
Yeah, it's more so of can you see and feel the air more than anything else, utilizing the draft when you're racing at a super speedway. And that's why, sometimes it feels like, yes, there's skill involved. But like you said, sometimes it feels like there really isn't too much of it to be thrown out because everyone's in the draft, everyone's pretty much full throttle. It's more of letting off if you're in the middle to further back in the field, just trying to keep yourself close. Some of the skill areas that we're going to be seeing here, if we stay green, going to be green flag pit stops that we're expecting in the middle of this race, as well as when you make the last charge. Those final couple of laps is when you're hoping for some skill and majority of luck to try to get yourself into victory lane. As qualifying comes to a conclusion, we're ready to get racing here tonight. The last race of the regular season before the playoffs get going next week. It is time for us to get 50 laps down at the Twigi Racing Experience 125 here at Daytona. Top of the board, getting the pole position, going to be that of Joey Hickok in the 73 with Merrick Watchorn to his outside. Row number 2 is going to be Patrick Hernandez with John Lynch to his outside. Then that of Ryan Mitchell as well as Dennis Crosby going to be to his outside. Then it's going to be Jacob Elkins in the 9 with Mark Wilbur going to be in that the 64. Then it's Douglas Carlson, Elliot Drummond, Tyler Farrar, as well as going to be that of Brendan Carroll. Going to be your 12 drivers racing here tonight. As we are about to get the drivers rolling in set, gotta say again, thank you for watching here tonight for Friday night on the Blitz Racing Network. As the drivers are about to get themselves situated, Matt, one faster pair, Daytona, where it's traditionally known, where a track that can go green all the way, but with only 12 drivers, I'm imagining for a lot of them, it's try to keep this race clean and green for the most of the night.
Yeah, like, I think they, yeah, I think so too. But like one of the big things about these new trucks that they ever since they updated the front end on these trucks to make them like the current car now, or like the current truck now, is that the bumpers don't lock as good as they used to. So it makes true bump drafting a little bit more difficult. So you really got to be make sure you are very square on the rear end of the person in front of you to make sure that it doesn't spin them out.
Yeah, I know these drivers were concerned about that, so they were given an hour of practice about right before this session opened up. A happy hour, just trying to let the drivers get as much practice in as needed for pack racing with one another. That's kind of all the practicing you could really worry about as well. For drivers maybe that have come into this league here late, they might be thinking about how they want to run with one another, and it could be the first time some drivers see others super speedway racing. Keeping a stable wheel and staying at least holding your line, always a big thing to watch out for. But I'm curious to see who's going to be drivers that are going to be going wild and crazy and doing some odd shenanigans for themselves and getting out of the way as Elliot Drummond decides to take the road course for himself. But who's going to be the wild cards that drivers are going to be trying to avoid as 11 drivers take the grid? Brendan Carroll missing out. He's going to either start on pit road or miss the race completely. As Joey Hickok going to be up front for the 73. Merrick Watchorn in the 91. Going to be on his outside, ready to get rolling here for that of the Twigi Racing Experience 125. Pace truck making the hard left-hand turn to pit road. And now we wait in the restart zone. The Geico restart zone the trucks get into. We are green here for 50 laps of the Twigi Racing Experience 125.
Yeah, I think the one person that people are not really going to want to help out is going to be Merrick. But like we'll see. But I think people do not want him to win anymore.
I would imagine so. With 9 wins coming into the night, he is the most winning-ish driver so far. He's won more than half of the races for the regular season and trying to get his 10th potentially here as the driver's going to be side by side. It's going to be Hickok and that of almost some contact as it's going to be the 19 of that of Patrick Hernandez. A little bit of a bump to Hickok that got this 19 squirrely. And that's going to be the big thing. It seems like more so if you try to even give a square bump, you could be hurting yourself more than actually the driver you're trying to give a bump to at times. As here comes the run on the outside, and almost a late block there as Watchorn dives it back up to the high line, and now Hickok just waits and looming, holding that inner lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you do not. So, like, if you are the car, like in the middle, like if you are pushing the car in front of you, you do not want the guy behind you to start pushing you on your bumper because it just gets you all kinds of squirrely, and the chances of you like, putting it in the wall is going to be even greater. And also, the outside line is kind of like the preferred dominant line because you can make a lot of passes out there. But you really just want, if you are not careful out there, you can drop the back super quickly. But as long as you have people there on the outside to hang on to you and be able to, to help you push forward, it is definitely the preferred line to get you to the front.
91 going to drop down to the inner lane, and then you're going to see that of John Lynch on the outside, getting to the quarter panel of Merrick Watchhorn. And yeah, I mean, to touch on that a little bit more, it always seems like if you want to pass, you go to the outside lane. That's where you're going to be more aggressive and trying to make your big, bold moves on your own. But if you want to be patient and see how the race is going to come to you, just stay on the low line and let everyone else make all the moves, and you'll just steal their position away. As seeing all the drivers running down the backstretch. Lap number 3 about to be in the books, as it's going to be that of Joey Hickok leading every lap so far here tonight, as Patrick Hernandez is going to be in second place, but right to a little bit of choo-choo train action as drivers get in line, and this could be what we see for a little bit here until pit stops around that halfway marker.
Yeah, it is. The interesting part about Daytona is how spread out everyone gets during the green flag pit stops, as we see Merrick, charging to the outside to try to get the lead here.
Trying to take the lead, a little bit of practice maybe for himself. That's going to be following suit in line. Going to be going with the 99 schemed Red Bull, but that is actually going to be Ryan Mitchell, who's the 24, who's going to be running the Red Bull gray machine, as well as going to be seeing that of Jacob Elkins, who had not the a weird race for a lot of these drivers last week at North Wilkesboro, but the 9 hoping to get a good run here as he'll drop in line and watch our top 5, at least for the battle for second and for that of fourth, going to be side by side for themselves. Joey Hickok leads another lap for himself, but Merrick Watchhorn, a little bit more better assistance from Ryan Mitchell, who's been feeling very much underwhelming for the 24. Felt like, he's been running pretty well, but not feeling like he's got winning caliber truck at all this season. But here tonight, the opportunity is there for that of seeing Mitchell, as they're going to get some more help. The 22 of Crosby going to be helping out on that outer lane, but there's just more trucks in line on the inside. But here comes that run that we were talking about through 3 and 4. Merrick Watchhorn's got the nose. He's trying to get clear, and he finally will be, but not for long.
Absolutely. Like one of the big things that you really try to do too is you don't really so much want to touch the guy's bumper in front of you. If you can get as close as possible, and the guy behind you can get as close as possible to you as well, then I think that is going to be like the fastest way to do it.
It's the suction that allows the air to just glide over these trucks and not get any air pockets that slows you down. The draft, so important, staying in line with the driver in front of you. And this is what we're seeing. Great action from Patrick Hernandez, as well as Joey Hickok. But the 19 giving me a couple of scares every once in a while. That 19 seems very aggressive at this point, trying to make sure the 73 is leading this race, as Merrick Watchhorn, and as well as seeing behind him that of Mitchell and also Crosby and Elkins. Yes, the 22 is getting aggressive on the Red Bull machine, but it doesn't seem like for Merrick Watchhorn and Mitchell, they're not trying too hard to give each other bumps. They're just letting the air do its own work. And across the line, Merrick Watchhorn finally leads his lap here at Daytona.
Yeah, I definitely think it's still a little bit too early to really start pushing. So I think, like once it comes to like 3, 4 to go, I think that's when the bumpers will start, to get used. But yeah, I think right now you do just have to just chill and just wait for things to happen.
As driver is kind of making that outer lane dissolve at the moment. Elkins drops down. Crosby was thinking about it. He'll stay on the outer lane, but here comes that of Hickox leading the charge. And for Joey Hickox, he's only had 2 starts so far this season for the 75. As, a little bit of a bump, sliding, but holding on. And what a save by the 73. It checks up the whole entire inside lane, but there is some severe damage on that right side of the 73. Gets onto the apron again, and scattering but staying together is this lead pack. And the driver that lost the draft, it's the 94 of Farrar. Major loss for the driver that was at the end of the line and really had to check up with everyone else.
It's just unfortunate for Tyler, but hopefully there's a maybe a caution that you'll get it back up. But like the one thing though with these trucks is they suck up very, very well. So if you can maybe get one person to drop back and help him out, they can get right back up to him.
As seeing drivers going up, down, and everywhere to search for their pockets to fall into. It looks like Jacob Elkins will be that driver that's in 10th place, but up front, Merrick Watchorn trying to fend over the 90 of John Lynch. Lynch to the outside, and he might have been gone for an instant, but he's right back in the mix. Joey Hickox fell back to 7th, but now going to be up there on the outside. Second truck on the outer lane and giving a huge push. And if he can get clear of the 90, and if he can get clear of the 91, excuse me, the 73 could dive it down low and try to make an aggressive pass potentially here. He's going to be clear. Will he make the dive bomb? It looks like not. He'll stay in line with Lynch as both of them will come down, leaving that of Ryan Mitchell and also Patrick Hernandez to the outer groove. 42 laps to go. Going to be 41 when they cross the line. And now we're about that halfway marker of when we're expecting these drivers to potentially think about pit stops.
Yeah, the one thing I did see there is when they were going down the back stretch, is I saw Merrick go to the middle, and I was actually surprised that Douglas did not shoot down the middle and kind of put Merrick in that sucker hole to where he would have dropped further back. But like really good patience there by Douglas to let Merrick drop back down. It was just Merrick using that outside line to get past the bottom there.
Trying to use a little bit of a switch back to the outer lane. Also want to give note, big props to that of Elliott Drummond. Did fall back, give a little bit more space to Tyler Farrar, and Farrar is back into the mix as all 11 drivers are back in this lead pack side by side for our front 8. Question is, for everyone further back, is they're trying to make sure that they don't get caught up in any issues or troubles, as we've already seen contact between the 91 of Merrick Watchorn and the 73 of Hickok. And Hickok's got to be careful because he's already got some right side damage for that 73. Could get a little bit more with the way that Merrick Watchorn's really trying to side draft on the 73 machine.
Yeah, you definitely got to be careful because the notorious like net coding that happens every once in a while. But it is kind of spontaneous, and you never know when it's actually going to be there. So yeah, that is definitely the side drafting. You definitely have to be very careful of, especially here at Daytona with with how fast the trucks can weave back and forth.
And some of the drivers further on back, that's between 9th, 10th, and 11th place. It's Elliott Drummond, Jacob Elkins, and Tyler Farrar. Already getting a sensation of our front 8 and how aggressive they've been. They are backing off just about a half a second, still in the draft, but recognizing, all right, maybe these drivers get a little too overzealous. The caution could be looming with how they're racing, as once again, Merrick Watchorn going to have Ryan Mitchell behind him, but it's Patrick Hernandez, the third truck in line on that outside, as it's John Lynch as well as Joey Hickok going to be on the inner lane, looking for some assistance potentially from the 86 of Carlson. But Douglas Carlson just too far back, really not giving the help that he would give if he was a little bit closer. A little bit of a pass. Ryan Mitchell finds the opening, dives it down low. Great move by the 99 on screen, 24 on our ticker. And that's going to disperse in a little bit of a clog up by that of Lynch, who got on the apron, caused everyone to check up. And that move by Ryan Mitchell, it's for null. It is for nothing. And he'll have to settle for third place as everyone gets in line again. We get a little bit of a reset here before we attempt again side-by-side racing.
Yeah, that was a very good save by Lynch. That car was just almost gone, and he was able to save it. It almost kind of reminded me of when Kyle Busch did exactly the same thing.
Yeah, the sparks were flying. He had to save it when he touched the apron and just couldn't get off the apron at times, as it was a bob and weave back and forth. And also got to give kudos to the rest of the field that backed off and recognized the situation. That's another thing where these drivers, if it was a bigger field, the accordion effect of a major checkup up front really hurts drivers further on back. But luckily for our back 3 drivers, they already gave themselves plenty of space, so they were able to react accordingly. And now it's reset, attack, and go again. And this driver leading right now, Merrick Watchorn, Mr. Dominant, consistent. At one time, was worrying about trying to get more than 4 wins. That's crazy to think about, Matt, that earlier in the middle of this regular season, Merrick Watchorn got his 4th win and thought he was going to stall out. He had never gotten more than 4 wins in any other league. Well, he broke that barrier. He kind of shattered it with 9 wins so far this season, looking for win number 10. And yes, the likelihood is not as high here at Daytona for the 91 to win because everyone else has a much higher opportunity of beating out Watchhorn, but he still could get win number 10 of the 16 races that were ran so far this season.
Yeah, it's been pretty impressive, and just the consistency that he's had all year, and this really just had things fall in place for him, and that he's definitely has had the best of luck so far this season, and I'm sure he's hoping that it continues not only tonight but also through the playoffs as well.
The playoffs again starting next week for these drivers as the first playoff race is going to be at Dover. The first round, the round of 10, is going to be Dover, Homestead, and Las Vegas. That is it's going to be a fast, quick, and could get in trouble quickly type of a racing round. And then after that, we lose our bottom two that are in points. They'll go to the round of 8 for the next 3 races after that, where it will be Michigan, the Roval, and Bristol. It's probably one of the tougher rounds for these drivers in total to handle. And then the round of 6 after we eliminate another 2 drivers after those 3 races. The last round of 4 championship race going to be at Texas, Richmond, and Talladega. That is going to be more of a traditional, just hope that you can run a mile and a half, a short track, and let's do a super speedway just to spice things up before we go to the old Atlanta, the old 2008 configuration of the track where it's all about the old concrete, old asphalt, and drivers got to worry about their tires, a little bit of off the gas. Not like the new Atlanta where that is a mile and a half super speedway. It is a little bit more terrifying than I would say here at Daytona.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It drives just like a regular speedway with the the characteristics of a super speedway. It is a little bit more snappy or loose, but yeah, the old Atlanta is ways, to me personally, this is so much better. It allows people to control their car and be able to put it like where they want to, and kind of like drive their own race and not being relying on on someone else.
Yeah, the comparison of old Atlanta to new Atlanta, a lot of drivers have their thoughts on it. If you're all about super speedway racing and that is your only times that you feel like you're going to get a win, you'll love the new Atlanta. If you're about traditional racing skill in actually performing at the best of your abilities, you love the old Atlanta. So you got your polar opposites of with those the way those tracks are. As up front, it's Merrick Watchorn and Ryan Mitchell side by side as we are on lap 18, 33 laps to go here this evening. Thank you for joining us on the Blitz Racing Network. My name's Sam Dyer. With me is Matt Dyer, as he's also going to be producing here this evening as you are watching the Twigi iRacing Truck Series for the Twigi Racing Experience 125, the last race of the regular season before the playoffs get started next week. As these drivers watching the 91 like they've been doing for the majority of this season, but similarly, like we've been seeing for a while, back 3 drivers going to be Elliott Drummond, Jacob Elkins, and Tyler Farrar. In the middle, Mark Wilbur as well as Douglas Carlson. They've been just sitting and waiting. The 64, the 86. I would say kind of similar to the strategies I'm always thinking about. The drivers that are waiting but are willing to keep themselves close to see how the trucks are going to react in the middle of the race.
Yeah, the one thing I'm looking at too is potential partners for like towards the end of the race, because if you notice like Watchorn, Hernandez have been tied up this whole race. Lynch and Hickox has been nose to tail this whole race too, and also even Crosby and Mitchell, they've been close together this whole race too. So it's going to be interesting to see who has already picked a partner and say I'm going to be with you the whole race. So it's going to be interesting to see if those partnerships last throughout the whole race.
Another thing that we kind of touched on, the fact that Merrick Watchorn has won so many times, is he going to have any friends when it comes to the end of this race, or will everyone just ditch the 91 to say, hey, we're not giving you a win number 10, we want to get a win ourselves, as these drivers are inching closer and closer. We're on lap 20, and again, these drivers expected to do a 1-stop here tonight, so that would be around the halfway marker. That means we're within about 5 to 6 laps from when drivers should be thinking about pit stops for themselves. But the way that they're racing right now, getting single filed up, Matt, it's looking like they might have to come to pit road sooner than the halfway marker.
Yes, we see some people starting to dive off now. So those people that stayed towards the back maybe saved a little bit more fuel so they can maybe go a little bit further. But you do not want to be stuck out there with was that four trucks that ended up staying out, and the whole rest of the field came in. So it's going to be interesting to see who's taking tires, who's only doing two, who's doing fuel only. So it's going to, oh, they are open. And Mitchell slid through his box.
Slid through his box, but is going to be having to get tires, fuel. Not going to be the worst thing in the world, especially with the fact that Mark Wilbur had a very poor entry into pit road. Might be able to come back as, oh, was that contact potentially there between the 19 and the 91 coming out of pit road? There's always that gray area when you're in the asphalt pits boxes. You can drive through other drivers, but once you get out of the pit box, if you're inside of a driver, there could be a little bit of contact given. It looks like both drivers are okay. That of Merrick Watchorn and Patrick Hernandez as they get back up to speed. John Lynch deciding to go with two tires. The majority of the field going for two tires and fuel on this run. As the other four drivers that stayed out, they now hit pit road. Jacob Elkins, Carlson, Drummond, as well as Farrar getting their stops in. As John Lynch, Watchorn, and others, they are getting back up to speed and trying to catch up to this group of four. Looking right now, we talked about the slide that Ryan Mitchell had. Well, him and also Crosby are together. Mark Wilbur looks like will not have any help at all unless the timing works out for him to be collected with that of Tyler Farrar and Douglas Carlson, as Watchorn as well as others get ramped up to speed as we're riding on board with the 29, who's just going to get back on track. This is Elliott Drummond's back bumper, and for them, came in for two tires as well and fuel, and much further ahead than Merrick Watchorn, but they're not up to speed. The 91, 19, and the 90, they are catching up to Elkins, and soon going to be catching up to that of Drummond as drivers stay low, not trying to get out of, not trying to be in the way, but they'll drift up, get in the draft, and then you ramp it back up to speed. But our top five in line, looking like the draft-wise, Joey Hickok needs some assistance. He is just on the tail end of our front five's draft.
Yeah, it seems like he maybe spun his tires a little bit too much, and this kind of just hurt his exit on pit road. But he also had one of the slowest pit stops, so it makes you wonder, like, did he have issues?
Well, he did have that damage on the right side of the 73 truck, so maybe you thought he'd get a little bit of this damage repaired potentially and then get going. As for the 73, he's going to have some assistance behind him, but our front five all in line and trying to pull away the best that they can so they don't have to worry about any other drivers. Merrick Watchorn, Patrick Hernandez, John Lynch, as well as Jacob Elkins going to be these front runners, with that of Elliott Drummond, who's going to be in fifth place. Driver that was lingering in the bottom half of the field before pit stops, 29. Great job for himself, but it once was 5. Well, let's make it a little bit bigger, up to 8, as that of Hickox, Farrar, and also Carlson have cut up to the field, and they are charging. But mistakes have been made for drivers further on back, as Dennis Cosby as well as Ryan Mitchell wrecked themselves coming through 3 and 4 just about a lap ago, as the battling for the lead is on.
And it is a huge shout out, to Tyler. Remember, he almost lost the draft, there at the beginning, during one of those checkups, and now he's up, back up here towards the front, and was Joey Hickox, who almost lost the draft after those pit stops, all the way back out here to the lead.
You just have to have that resilience, and now going to be trying to make that outer lane work for themselves, with John Lynch helping out as well. And it looks like for Elliott Drummond, going to fall back and just watch the show back in 8th place. As Mark Wilbur losing the draft after a very poor pit entry for the 64 and exit. Dennis Cosby, Ryan Mitchell, they were only about 2 to 3 seconds off of this group, but then they make contact, wreck themselves, and now are in trouble of potentially going a lap down here in the next about 10 to 15 laps if they keep up at the pace that they're going. But for our leaders, they came into pit road around that of the window of 30 to go. The question is, Can they make it to the end, or will these drivers have to make one more green flag pit stop? We'll have to find out, as that's going to be close. If they have to pit at the same exact time that they did on that first stop, that means they're going to be about 5 laps shy from making it to the end.
Yeah, like if it's short, like if it's close on fuel, you do not want to be out here in the lead. You do not want to be in Merrick's position because are pretty much punching a hole through the air. You're going to be burning more fuel. If you are anyone, you want to be exactly where Elliott or even where John Lynch is, because you don't want to be all the way in the back, but you definitely don't want to be all the way in the front. So you kind of want to be where John Lynch is at the moment, and Joey Hickok, where like you have people behind you who are pushing you, but also the people in front of you who are kind of pulling you along. So it's going to be interesting to see how long they can go, because maybe everyone was just going with Merrick because he was in the lead and going and jump down the road.
I know a lot of the teammates were thinking about coming together. That's why we saw Merrick and many of others come in. Now, there were a couple of drivers kind of surprised that they came in with that of the 91, but sometimes you got to work with, you got to react with as quick as some drivers dive down low. You're like, all right, well, we're coming down, because some of these drivers might not have teammates that they're working with, as the field making all their decisions, coming to that of 23 laps to go. It's Merrick Watchorn leading the way with Patrick Hernandez in second place. Patrick Hernandez, second in points, was leading the points for the majority of the regular season. And the main thing that helped the 19 was the fact that he had started every race this season, being the only driver to start every race this season. Merrick Watchorn, Ryan Mitchell, they both missed a race. And then there was a long group of drivers that had shown up in the middle to later stages of this season. So there's a lot of bubbling moves around one another, but Patrick Hernandez, with his 15 starts, he's finished in the top 10 every single race this for the 19, and with it being only 11 drivers, looks like he can make that 16 of 16 races, finishing inside of that of the top 10. And then Merrick Watchorn for himself, he can make it 100% as well, as if he finishes in the top 10 for all of his starts. He's finished in the top 10 as well. Seeing the line, these drivers stay. Driver in third place, Jacob Elkins. Driver that just made it into the playoffs. It's going to be his 8th start of the season. And for this 9 machine, his best finish so far was a 3rd place finish at Watkins Glen, then a 4th place finish at that of Nashville Superspeedway. So for the 9, he's hoping that he can find himself in a better spot. An opportunity to talk to us up in the booth is that 9 machine, and as the field continues to stay in line, come to lap 21. Another driver behind, that's going to be Douglas Carlson, and Douglas Carlson comes in 8th in points for tonight's venue. His best finish, Indianapolis Road Course, 4th place, as well as the Gateway, 4th place for that of the 86. And the other drivers that are up in this lead group, talked about Hickok. This is only his 3rd start of the season. And for Joey Hickok, he has not had the strongest of finishes. Still looking for his first top 5 run. His best finish was Las Vegas with a 6th place finish for himself. And then Nashville Superspeedway, he was 8th. And then John Lynch, who was a driver 9th in points. He lost quite a bit of points after missing some races. But for John Lynch, he's gotten a win this season. That was back at Kentucky where he got that win. Then he finished 3rd at Charlotte and 4th at the Glen, as well as 4th at the Indy Road Course. So looking for another win for John Lynch, if possible. And then Elliott Drummond. We kind of watched him search for a win for so long. And of course, it was the race that we didn't cover that he got his win, which was at that of Watkins Glen. But he's had 3 top 2 finishes, 2 top 3 finishes. 29 just has been consistently finishing up front and a threat for the championship, as he's going to be the second to last car in this lead lap. And then Ryan, that of Tyler Farrar, outside of the championship hopes. The 94 not really looking like a driver that has gone for wins himself, but his best finish was at Auto Club, the 2-mile course. Finished 3rd there, hoping for another strong run at a bigger course for himself. As for us here tonight, if you're out in the chat and you're watching, hey, we just put it in the chat. Vote right now. We got a poll question for you. Will Merrick Watchorn get his 10th win of the season here tonight? Or do you think it's not going to happen? I got to say, I don't think it's going to happen, but Matt, it could with the way that he's been so consistent and dominating this season.
Mm. Yeah, the one thing I have noticed with him is he's very good at controlling both lanes. So like if he sees someone, like if he's on the bottom, if he sees someone come on the outside, he's not afraid to go up there and maybe put a little bit of a block on them to kind of stall out their lane and kind of just just go back and forth in front of both lanes, just trying to control it.
And I think it's something that's very difficult. And when that's kind of the few skill sets that you see here, because there's drivers that really don't know how to defend both lanes when they're leading. They do what I call a lazy block, where they just slowly come up to try to defend a lane, or they just make such an aggressive move that they throw themselves either onto the apron or into the outside wall. So, drivers that can find that sweet middle ground of where they want to place themselves to defend both lanes, that is such a skill set that some drivers just can never figure out.
Yeah, it is very. I wouldn't say it's a technical skill, but yeah, it's one of those things where like you don't want to be too aggressive, but you don't want to be too soft about it either.
As the driver is staying in line, again, the question looming over everyone's mind, will these drivers have to pit again? And what makes me think the chance that they're going to be trying to stretch this out, I'm looking at the lap times for these drivers. They're running about a full second off of what their fastest lap times were, showing to me that these drivers are trying to save fuel to try to make it to the end.
Yeah, but if you're Merrick, you're kind of hoping that they're going to pit with you when you drive down the pit road, or even Hernandez as well. You're kind of hoping for them to go with you, but yeah, right now, if you are Joe Hickox or you know, Douglas, or even John Lynch, essentially, if you are the back half of this top running back here, you are hoping it stays green. You're hoping that those front ones dive down and you still have enough fuel, to get there. Because even if they pit, it's going to be the total pit lane is going to be about the low 30s. So you think you're going to lose about 40 seconds if you come down pit road. So if you can stay out there and even do like half throttle, if you are short by like 2 laps, you can do like half throttle. You can make it to the end here and maybe sputter out a 4, but it is very interesting and it's going to be super close on fuel here.
Fuel is going to be the big talking point from here on out. 16 laps ago, 15 when they crossed the line. Merrick Watchorn, Patrick Hernandez, Jacob Elkins going to be the front three right now as they just wait in looming. And again, 3 drivers that are not a part of this lead pack. We only had 11 drivers that started, still 11 on track. But that of Dennis Crosby, Ryan Mitchell, and Mark Wilbur going to be all 3 together with one another, trying to work as one. But what's hurting the drivers back there is Dennis Crosby as well as Mitchell. Both got caught up in an issue where they got involved with wrecking one another. So they're in a very troublesome spot, which is having damage. They're running a little bit slower than our leaders, mainly because there's not as many cars in the line. So the draft isn't as impactful as it once was. As well, the damage isn't helping for themselves. But up front, still that Merrick Watchorn, hoping for a fabulous run for himself. But this being the first super speedway race before we get into the playoffs, where there will be another one at Talladega for the last round before our final 4 contenders are marked. This is a really good, notable race for these drivers to take notes for, because this can teach you of drivers that you want to work with or allies that you might want to try to work with coming in for that in about two to 3 months from here.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of like you really kind of use this like just like you said, like a test session to see who can you trust, who can be a good pusher, who can you push better, and who what team tactics can you deploy and it actually work better to see who you can trust to do it like later on in the playoff.
Playoffs is the big question that's coming over these drivers. Again, Merrick Watchorn, biggest threat to watch out as all these drivers are looking so strong with his 9 wins, 13 top 5s, 14 top 10s of his 14 starts that he's had this season. With even missing a full race over Patrick Hernandez, the gap is still 39 points between our front two in points. That is crazy of a number to think about. As you see Jacob Elkins right now just lingering in third, trying to keep it close, but also giving enough of a gap to try to save fuel. As radio's open, pit road is about to be open here, Matt. This is the money stop for these drivers. They're coming in, and they got to make sure you don't get caught speeding on entry or make any mistakes.
Yeah, as we see Elliott and Tyler, staying out, because the one thing with, a bunch of cars coming in at the same time is there is that chance of running into each other or even get strung out even more. So it's going to be interesting to see how well, Drummond and Ferrara, can come down, pit road. Because with them not having to come down with with everyone else, they can maybe be a little bit more aggressive on the breaking down into pit road. So it's going to be interesting to to see here.
A lot of drivers decide to go with fuel only. That of Merrick Watchorn having a little bit of a longer stop for himself, losing some time and ground for the 91. Came in as the leader. He'll fall back to being one of the second to last drivers out from this group. Then into pit road. Well, I thought we were going to see Elliott Drummond and Ferrari in this time. Looks like the 29 and the 94. Again, these were the two drivers that stayed in the back of this pack. If they were slowing down, I mean, they could try. Think about pit stops. What it looks like they're over the radio trying to debate when to come to pit road.
Yeah, it would be very interesting to see how close they are. But the one thing with going a little bit later, maybe you don't have to put as much fuel, so your pit stop is going to be a little bit shorter. But because of how much they were able to save, so it's going to be interesting to see here.
As even the drivers that were further on back, such as Ryan Mitchell and Crosby and Wilbur, they've all three have already gotten service done. Here comes Drummond and a Ferrari. It's going to be getting into pit road. Don't want to get caught speeding again. That would be disastrous for yourself. But staying for an extra 2 laps out, that just doesn't seem like the right move, especially with just 2 trucks out there on track. 1 lap too late could be hurting them as they continue to get service done for themselves. The group that's catching them, leading the way, pole sitter Joey Hickox, is on the outside trying to become the driver to take the lead position as he's side by side with Merrick Watchorn. Watchorn, who didn't come out with the best stop, he's now looking like a threat to be up front as we are getting rolling and the other drivers are getting on track. This is time to see who's going to get the win here tonight. 10 laps to go. Elliott Drummond, he's not even on the backstretch yet. He could be passed and lose the draft right now.
Yeah, but I do think they're fine. With how much these trucks can suck up, I think they should be fine.
Well, Tyler Farrar was an upset camper there on the fact that he was going to miss the draft. And now going to force everyone to go higher than him. And there's contact with going to be Elkins into that of the 29. And once again, streaming back bad luck potentially, but contact. And luckily the 20, that of the 94 is going to be there. But just a lack of communication and contact, going to be losing all the momentum and speed. And now potentially the draft of this lead pack. And 2 drivers that were lingering and waiting, they've now got to start bump drafting. 9 laps to go as our front, that of 6 drivers, all still in line.
Yeah, like you can even see that little bit of damage on the right front, but it shouldn't be too bad. He could still suck up to, like I can just see him just sucking up and closing rather quickly on length.
Trying to get the run, and there it is. They're already right there. And here comes the run from the 29. Will he throw it to the outside? Of course he will. You don't throw away that type of momentum by just staying in one spot. To the outer lane is going to be the 29. Who's going to be following suit? Going to be 8 laps to go here tonight. And what's going to be even a more of an interesting factor, Matt, we got lap traffic now with just 11 drivers on track. This is going to be an interesting moment because side by side, Gonna be John Lynch now gonna be helping the drivers on the outer lane. Just the power of two. Farrar, Drummond. Here comes the block. Gonna be by Merrick Watchorn. Patrick Hernandez now gonna be making the push to the inside. Everyone scattering as they're slowly chipping away and closing in on the three drivers that are about to go a lap down.
The one thing with Merrick, throwing that block is it seemed like maybe a little bit late, and Hernandez was trying to go with him to block up there, but the momentum that Elliott had was just too much to handle. But you want to be careful with weaving like he did, going down the backstretch, because Elliott will not back out. He will stick his nose in there, and you are going to pretty much wreck yourself off his nose.
I mean, Elliott got the win at the track that he felt like he was a for sure lock-in at that Watkins Glen, but here tonight and so many other times, Elliott Drummond has been frustrated, mad. We've heard it during his interviews, just wanting to beat the 91, and tonight could be that night. Joey Hickok's going to be giving a great shove to the 29. Merrick Watchorn just has to sit and watch it.
Oh, no!
Drummond! Hickok spun to the moon! It's going to be Drummond. It's a big one. Strikes with 7 laps to go. And Elliott Drummond
No.
had to take a tow. That means he potentially could be going a lap down for the 29. Oh, that is perfect timing for Ryan Mitchell, Crosby, and Wilbur, but an absolute misery strike hits that of Elliott Drummond here late. And now with the timing of this yellow, this is going to keep us still inside of regulation, but Elliott Drummond, by the time that he gets back out on track, he's going to need an immediate caution to come out. As we take a look at the replay, and Matt, just one bad bump, and it all goes away.
Yeah, just like we said earlier, if you don't catch the other bumper exactly the right spot, as you can see, he just drifted to the right, and when he tried to come back to the left, it just kind of just hooked him, and it just shot him straight up to the wall.
Yeah, one driver that's trying to mirror drive, the other one that's trying to follow the bumper, and that's snaking.
Yeah, but if you notice,
these drivers,
the only two people that did not get damaged from that was Jacob Elkins and Douglas. So, with Douglas Carlson. So, everyone else will more than likely have to take a fast repair. So pretty much you have to keep it very clean, from here on out.
well, Jacob Elkins, yes, he looks majority clean, but he does have some left side damage from when he made contact with that of Elliott Drummond earlier. But he can't come into pit road and get that fast repair done because he's already burned a fast repair for the 9 machine. So he's stuck in a bad spot. That of Crosby's just used the fast repair. Farrar just used the fast repair. Same for that of Joey Hickox and Elliott Drummond. He's better hope that he's clicked the fast repair, so it's good to go once the car is finished towing, but he is already a lap down, about to be 2 laps down for the 29, which if he goes 2 laps down, Elliott Drummond, this could be, with Joey Hickox also in pit road going 2 laps down, the 29 hopes of winning here tonight are done.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. I had some really high hopes for Elliott, but I mean that's kind of just, the super speedway racing. It's like really, it's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and it's just unfortunate that it keeps on happening, to Drummond.
As more drivers come to pit road again this go around, there's some drivers that are deciding maybe I won't use a fast repair. Others are, and it looks like that John Lynch and Patrick Hernandez both decided let's just use our fast repairs. As Merrick Watchorn, he comes back in, has to use a fast repair. Ryan Mitchell does not, which leaves us with just a total of 3 drivers, that are on track running that still have a fast repair. That of Douglas Carlson, that of Mark Wilbur as well. Weber as well is going to be that of Ryan Mitchell. All 3 of those trucks still with the fast repair in their back pocket just in case they get caught up in the next wreck, which is most likely going to happen with how aggressive these drivers are now going to have to kick it in gear. No longer single file racing. It's about winning here tonight. You just wasted 45 laps really to get to this point. Now you got the caution that restacks the majority of this field back into line. Now let's see how fast and who can get it done. It's a win here for that of the Twigi Racing Experience, 125. As the drivers get the pace car lights off, it is time to stack them up. Jacob Elkins, Douglas Carlson, going to be your front two drivers that decide not to come into pit road during this most recent yellow. Adding with them, Dennis Crosby and Mark Weber going to be coming to stay out as well. So our front four drivers, all that were not involved with our last incident. And then fifth on back is where you find everyone else that was involved with the wreck. John Lynch, Patrick Hernandez is going to be row number 3. Row 4 is going to be Merrick Watchorn, Ryan Mitchell, Tyler Farrar is going to be on track. Elliott Drummond is going to be one lap down for the 29. Joey Hickox still in pit road for the 73. As we are getting ready to get rolling here, Matt, on the back stretch. I mean, it's going to be 3 laps to go. The potential of overtime is still there. But do you think we're going to have to use that overtime attempt?
I think it's really just going to depend on how aggressive certain people are going to be. We know Merrick is going to be aggressive. You're coming back through the field, so there is a potential and a chance, but it's really just going to depend on how well can these bumpers hook up to each other. That's been the tail of the tape. Every single crash that we've seen, it just hasn't quite locked up. It's straight and true. Because if you notice on the back of these cars, there's a little camera that they use for for the real cars, and if you can just put your card center of your car directly on the camera, and you can just look, you really just hook up, and we're about to go green here.
Get them hooked up, ready to go, and see where they're going to be rolling. We had our poll. Does Merrick Watchorn get his 10th win of the season here tonight? 100% said no, as we are green, and oh, never mind. Yellow's thrown, and admin thrown yellow, and we're now going into overtime because of that. And now, Matt, that is an admin thrown yellow that was not supposed to come out. Merrick Watchorn was trying to clear black flags, instead throws a yellow. We are now going into overtime.
It makes you a little bit suspicious, but it.
And also that means Drummond's going to be back on the lead lap because he'll get the lucky dog spot. It resets everything, and well, there we go. We'll have to pace a little bit more here, folks. But now this has happened before, where there's been some shenanigans that us in the booth, we weren't the fans of happening, and drivers were complaining about the fact that they got black flags because they mistimed the restart zone. Which, Matt, that's a new rule that iRacing has put in, and Merrick Watchorn, after the mistake of trying to clear black flags and now accidentally hitting that of the caution to now put us into overtime, these drivers are now getting told, hey, if there's a black flag, I'm not clearing it anymore, type of a situation.
Yeah, that is the one thing, because the restart zone has just been brought in like just recently, so it's something new that everyone has to get used to, because like most of the time, previously before that was brought in, everyone would jump the start before, because they used to have like sections where like you could see a restart zone, and everyone would go super early before that, or when it would go green. So it is something new that people have to to get used to, because there is some gamesmanship, especially here at super speedways, when if you and your partner on the front row, maybe one of you would jump the start so that the other person can jump it behind you. So it is a new rule. It's just something that you got to get used to, but yeah, it can be a little bit frustrating.
Might be wondering why they're racing around this track like they are. Well, they're trying to catch the pace car that was flying right when the yellow flew. And I think the pace car might have been putting down faster laps than the actual drivers with how fast he was. He's on the middle of the backstretch, and our leaders are finally catching up to the pace truck. As we are in overtime, ladies and gentlemen, the meaning that we are now into extra time. So if we get into a position here, it's going to be 2 laps once we go green under this first attempt. If we get the white flag, we race this thing to the end. If we get a caution under the first lap once we go green, We will then have to go into caution and we'll utilize a second attempt. We have 3 attempts if needed on that third attempt. If we get a yellow on that first lap, right when we go green, the race will end under yellow. But right now, the drivers are trying to think, how do we attack this overtime attempt? Because when we were going green on that last restart before the yellow got immediately thrown, it was going to be a 3-lap shootout. This is only a 2-lap shootout with the pressure of, if we get the white flag, this race is going to conclude.
Yeah, I've just noticed that Merrick Watchhorn has been in the pits for, a little over a minute. So I'm not sure 100%, like what happened here.
He's now going to be going and being that of a lap down. So he is going to be staying a lap down for himself. And now officially going to be 2 laps down for the 91. And might be making the decision of Merrick Watchhorn parking his own self because of accidentally throwing a yellow.
Well, I guess our poll was correct then, huh?
Hey, we 100% said no, and 100% were correct. As we're stacking up, getting ready to go, Merrick Watchhorn going to be watching and being race control, it looks like, for this overtime attempt, as it is going to be that of Jacob Elkins, as well as Dennis Crosby, Douglas Carlson, John Lynch, Mark Weber, as well as Ryan Mitchell, Patrick Hernandez, Tyler Farrar, and Elliot Drummond. 9 drivers going to be on the lead lap. 9 drivers, all with an opportunity to win here tonight. And a handful of these drivers searching for their first win this season, and they had this race circled up. This was my chance to win. And the most winningest driver is now parked himself for this overtime attempt. So it is now wide open on who's going to get the win here tonight. It's been that of Merrick Watchhorn dominating for the majority of the night. Then if you look at the next driver that's been dominating, it was looking like that of Patrick Hernandez. But Patrick Hernandez is going to be mired back in 7th place. Ryan Mitchell is going to be right in front of him. It's our front runners, drivers that have been out really of this front row. John Lynch looking like the biggest threat right now in the 90 machine. As the pace car about to go off, it's time for our first attempt at overtime here for the Twigi iRacing Experience 125. Pace truck is off. We're in the restart zone, and we're green here tonight to see who's going to win at Daytona. Drivers get rolling. It's going to be Jacob Elkins for now. But it's going to be side by side for second, or will they? Here comes the charge from that of Dennis Cosby on the outside. Cosby getting a little bit of a bumper ahead. He's going to have the help from that of John Lynch, but how long will this lie? Again, we are in overtime. We get the white flag. We race this thing to the end. We get a yellow before the white flag. We go into attempt number 2, and it's going to be that of Crosby diving it down low for the 22. Here comes John Lynch on the outside with help from that of the 24, as attached is going to be the 99 on screen of the Red Bull machine. Tyler Farrar is also going to be given a good push. Out of turn number 4, we stay straight. We're getting the white flag. We're racing this one. We only needed 1 attempt, and Matt, here we go.
As John Lynch just gets out, he doesn't want to. Oh, he's getting a little squirrely. Like he wanted to wait until Ryan Mitchell was clear to go down to the bottom with him. Because you need a partner down there who will be with you till the end, and you can see if the 94 starts to come on the outside.
Farrar on the outside, going to be coming up with a charge up through the middle, going to be forcing his way. Patrick Hernandez giving a little bit of a bump to the 9. Watch out. Second truck on the outside. That's Elliot Drummond. If there's any contact up front, that 29 is going to try to steal this thing. But right now, it's all that of Ryan Mitchell in the 99 Red Bull machine. Blocking, defending, blocking every single lane. They're going to be side by side. Clip to the 90. It's not going to be enough. Coming across the line, John Lynch. He's going to steal it here tonight. It's the 90 of John Lynch.
And Elliot Drummond comes home second.
Oh, but Elliot Drummond, I don't know how much that one's going to stay because he drifted through the grass.
You got to put on a little showmanship there.
Got clipped by Carlson. That's what put the 29 into the grass. But John Lynch praising that of Ryan Mitchell, he'll finish last of the drivers on the lead lap. But you look at the stats, John Lynch, he had been everywhere on course. He's been up front. He was in the back, started in the middle, but for the majority of the night, he was a force up in our top 4 to top 5 range all night long. And he started fourth, and he just was placed in the right positioning, get himself up front, had the right driver behind him, and got it done here tonight. As John Lynch gets to see the 20, that of the 29 drive on by, but burning it down is the 90 machine. Crazy night for these drivers on how this all went down. But John Lynch able to get himself into that victory lane. And don't go away, we're still got plenty of great action here tonight. We got ourselves the post-race show talking to our top 3 drivers. But before we get to that, as the 90 gets to burn down, we're going to take a look here at our unofficial finishing results for these drivers. As for John Lynch, what a night it was. Second place going to be Elliott Drummond, who finished across through the grass, with Douglas Carlson going to be in that a third. Tyler Farrar going to be in fourth place. Fifth going to be Mark Wilbur, as well as going to be having that of Jacob Elkins in sixth with a slightly damaged 9 machine. Then it's going to be that of Dennis Crosby, Patrick Hernandez in eighth. Ninth's going to be Ryan Mitchell. In pit road, getting damage repairs for both these drivers, it was Merrick Watchorn and Joey Hickox. And missing even the start, it was Brendan Carroll, who didn't even get to grid up. What a night for John Lynch. And for us, we'll see if the drivers are ready for an interview. If they're not, we'll step aside for a quick moment, as it looks like we've got our drivers. They are ready for the interviews, and we're going to start things off with that of Douglas Carlson, if we can get him in the booth here shortly. But certainly, what a crazy night it was for these drivers. And looking at it, doesn't look like we have Douglas Carlson to bring in. So we'll go with second place finisher, where we will be finding that of Elliott Drummond in the 29, coming away with the second place finish. Elliott, what a night for yourself. You needed a little bit of luck to get back on the lead lap, but man, how was it for yourself there trying to go for that win?
Man, I really had no expectations to win. I'm not a super speedway racer, but you know, Jo ran a great race, 1-2 for Spawner Racing. I'll take it. P1 would have been better, but I'll take what I can get, most certainly.
I mean, this is right before playoffs start next week. How much of this can you take as momentum going into the playoffs in this first round that looks pretty traditional with going to Dover and then 2.5-mile courses?
Love Dover. Mile and a halves or mile and a halves or cookie cutter ovals. So I mean, pretty simple first round, honestly. I'll just take the momentum from like Watkins Glen and stuff, and definitely shift it to the playoffs, most definitely.
Oh, yes. We know that second round is going to be a round to watch out for you as we head to the Roval then. But Elliott, tonight, congratulations on a second place finish. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
I don't really got none, just other than we'll go to Dover and win there.
As Elliott Drummond in the 29, congratulations on a second place finish and good luck heading into the playoffs and at Dover.
Thank you, Mr. Sam.
As we head from second place, we go to victory lane where we find that of John Lynch. John, what a run for yourself coming away here tonight. You had some fans out in the chat, but you were up front, being a threat at times. Wasn't leading, but at least was in the realm of a driver to watch out for. How are you feeling tonight after getting this win?
Bro, I am ecstatic, especially with the team 1-2 with Elliott in the grass somehow. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Home track win. Those always feel good.
Those always do. And John, with this win, it's your second one of the season. Going into the playoffs now next week, how do you feel like this is going to be helping you momentum-wise going into next week at Dover?
I think the extra bonus playoff points is going to help me for the playoffs because round one of the playoffs is 2 of my worst tracks on here. So I'm hoping I can just bring the car home in one piece and maybe just sneak into round 2. But yeah, hopefully we can get the same momentum we got from Kentucky, because after Kentucky we finished 2 straight second place finishes. So
And we cannot wait to see how you respond after this one, John. Well, before we let you go, I know you got some people you want to thank, as the floor is now yours for anybody you want to thank.
Yeah, I just want to thank my uncle for coming over. He's the one who taught me how to plate race, and I think that training paid off tonight. I want to thank Spinal Designs, Daytona Racing Collectibles, Moonlight Speed, setups, Yankee Pie Pizza, Stevenson Sign Works, um, H52 Photography, and then Merrick and all of them for putting on the league. And thank y'all for broadcasting.
And thank you for putting on a show. It certainly was a good one to watch. Congratulations, John, on the win, and good luck heading into the playoffs.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
As going from victory lane, it looks like actually we might have ability to grab third place finish here. So we're going to try if we can get him into the booth. Douglas, it's Sam up the booth for BRN. You got us?
Yeah.
Well, come away with third place here tonight. Congratulations on that. But man, give us your thoughts. How you feeling after this one?
It's a track that I knew that I stood a pretty good chance at possibly walking away with at least top 5. I always figured that at the end of the race, I more than likely would just finish off with the top 5 at the most. I didn't anticipate a podium finish. Towards the end of it, I was going to work with Jacob there, and things started getting really, really dicey there, so I had to pull out at the last minute. And then that last wreck, I only lucked out because there was a window that was just right there, and I just drove straight through it. And that's the only way that I was able to avoid that wreck and keep it somewhat good. But other than that, it just was a great race.
Well, after this, the regular season's now over, and now we're heading into the playoffs where you're going to be involved. How are you feeling confidence wise going into this first round of the playoffs, heading to Dover and then 2.5 mile tracks?
Well, I walked into it not even knowing if I was going to make the playoffs. I was told that I was at a huge disadvantage, and I just persevered and I stayed true to who I am. I always just kind of ride everything out, see how everything is going to go, and then I just gauge what I do from there. Uh, but the fact that I'm in the playoffs now, definitely things are going to change. I'm going to have to start being a little bit more aggressive coming into it. I love the mile and a halves, and so hopefully we'll start seeing some better results here coming soon.
Hey, for someone that was counted out when you joined in the league, it's pretty good when you're tied for 5th in points going into the playoffs. Congratulations, Douglas, on getting third place finish here tonight. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to all my friends and family, my amazing fiance, soon to be wife. On August 27th, we're going to have that live streamed on my YouTube channel, Don't Die Doug. I want to thank all my fans from over there that have been watching these races and hanging out. I know I haven't given you guys exactly a whole lot to be able to work with. I want to give a shout out to my paint supplier, Jacob. He's the one that went and recreated my Phasmophobia paint scheme that I've been running for Phas with Friends for so long. So I want to give a shout out to him as well, and just everybody in general.
That is going to be the 86 of that of Douglas Carlson, coming away with a third place finish here tonight. Congratulations, Douglas, on your finish, and good luck heading into the playoffs and at Dover next week.
Thank you.
What a crazy night it was here at Daytona. A late yellow that came away with a giant wreck that saw drivers being taken off to the moon. And then a yellow flag that was not supposed to be thrown to overtime, where we found John Lynch sneaking away and getting the win. Big helps from that of Ryan Mitchell. And the 90 had a big enough gap to try to pull off everyone else. Matt, what an incredible night it was. Man, what are some of your final thoughts before we give it a final call here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just everything you kind of expected at the super speedways. You had very close bump drafting. You had a spectacular wreck. It's just unfortunate that it took Joey out of there, because I think he could have been a contender there towards the end. But you also had your classic last corner, you wreck like coming to the line because everybody's just trying to push so hard. But I think it was just everything that you kind of expected, and I think they all just kept it clean.
They kept it as clean as possible, and now the stage is set. 10 drivers are prepared to go playoff racing next week, starting off at Dover. It is going to be a long playoffs, 10 races in total, with 10 drivers going for one championship. Merrick Watchorn goes in as the playoff leader with a massive 30-point advantage over Sam Brochu, who's going to be second in points with John Lynch, going to be in third with his 2 wins. Great advantage he's going to have. And then we've got Elliott Drummond with his 1 win at Watkins Glen. And then we've got a long list of drivers that are all tied 5th for points. Douglas Carlson, Jacob Elkins, Brandon Gregg, as well as Patrick Hernandez, Ryan Hyatt, and that of Ryan Mitchell. Going to be your 10 drivers racing for a championship heading into Dover next week. Well, we cannot wait to give you playoff racing coverage here on the Blitz Racing Network. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Matt Dyer, and as well everyone else that helps us here at BRN, thank you for watching here tonight. We'll see you next Friday night. Playoff racing action at Dover. We'll see you then.